I can see moving the game, but why up 3 hours instead of to nighttime? Plus, does Louisiana have any chance in this game whatsoever? Let's talk about it on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso, and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball. Of course, talking about Missouri's game tomorrow against the Ragin Cajuns, and also peeking ahead, because I just can't help myself, to South Carolina as well. Do want to begin by telling you quickly today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now. And I gotta say, well, Missouri, by the way, this is old news to most of you, but in case you haven't heard, Missouri has moved up a kickoff tomorrow for Missouri and Louisiana from 3 p.m. to now a noon local time kickoff here in Columbia, Missouri. So on one hand, I understand it's going to be incredibly hot tomorrow, so sure, move the kickoff time around, but really, does moving it to noon versus 3, is that much of a difference? Heck, just looking at weather.com here, at noon, yeah, it's going to be 90 degrees versus 95 at 3 p.m. That's the forecast right now anyway. Total pure sun in both of those scenarios, it's looking like. But by 1 p.m., it's already going to be 93 degrees. So what difference are we really talking about here? In fact, actually from the 3 to 6 window, at least you're getting seemingly, again, this is according to the forecast, a little more cloud coverage and definitely more shade coverage, especially in the south and west parts of the stadium the later you get into the day. That isn't so much the case from noon to 3. So especially with this game being streamed on SEC+, there is no ESPN Plus, SEC Plus, however you get it or whatever way you want to look at it. There are no TV windows and blocks here to worry about. As much as that is an antiquated concept in many ways, well, it's still around for the foreseeable future here. That shouldn't really matter here. Why wouldn't this game be moved tonight? If you're really worried about your fans, the players, safety, how about some cloud coverage and an actual night football? That sounds like maybe a better option to me. Don't totally understand the logic here, but regardless, we Missouri fans and players will soldier through and be just fine. And the Tigers, by the way, are a minus 27.5 point favorite tomorrow. 47.5 is the total. Not really feeling either one of those as far as a lean over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I'll tell you this, it wouldn't shock me if this game is maybe a little bit closer than people would like, if you're sort of going home from this game feeling a little bit cold. Well, not only is this kind of a classic trap game spot right between Kansas and South Carolina, obviously the weather's going to be pretty brutal tomorrow, just human nature being what it is. If the Tigers aren't going to give their absolute max 100% effort out there tomorrow, I can't say I would completely blame them. And plus, there is the basic gamesmanship factor as well. Are there things in Missouri's bag, offensively and defensively, that they haven't shown yet that they want to keep for South Carolina? Well, there's a good chance of that. So all of those factors tell me that, hey, maybe Louisiana covers the massive spread, but at the same time, I'm not exactly worried about any potential for an upset here. Unfortunately, for the Ragin Cajuns, their starting quarterback, Walker Howard, was injured in week 1, and he's now been ruled out for the rest of the season after having surgery on an oblique injury. Daniel Beal, a true freshman, I should say, quarterback, came in last week, hit 14 of his 22 passes, but only for 86 yards in Louisiana's 34-10 victory over McNeese last week. So The Ragin Cajuns are definitely going to run the football a lot. That seems like their MO. And I just have to say, 86 yards passing. I guess the Ragin Cajuns didn't have to do much passing in that game, but if this is truly a one-dimensional offense, not only is Louisiana obviously at a talent deficit to the Tigers, but against that Missouri defense in front, if you're going to be one-dimensional, they already swallowed up the Kansas run game last week. I just don't see the Ragin Cajuns getting a whole lot of points against Missouri this week. At least we should certainly hope so. If they're marching it up and down the field against Missouri, that is a serious problem. And I will say, Drinkwitz did say he was very disappointed, those were his words, in the drive where Kansas took the lead in the second half. He said, that's on us. We played too much zone coverage there. We had gotten nervous because they had a couple of open double moves and that kind of thing. So we went to more zone coverage, and there were too many holes. And Jalen Daniels did a good job of picking those holes. We'll get that corrected. We have to be way more aggressive, is what Drinkwitz said. Well, I have to say, I thought those were interesting comments from Eli, and he's definitely a coach that is used to having an aggressive defense, especially with, well, Blake Baker in 22 and 23. He's one of the most aggressive coordinators in the country. I think we're still seeing that down in LSU for sure. I have to say that on the other hand, though, an aggressive call led to a huge passing play over the top in the first quarter as well that led to a Jayhawk touchdown. Kansas gets it down to about the 5-yard line from midfield or so. Well, that was a zero blitz there. And obviously there's a give and take. That was definitely man coverage. So I think Missouri has been used to playing a lot of aggressive man defense, and they'll continue to do so in important spots, 3rd and 5s, that kind of thing. But I don't think playing a little bit of zone on 1st and 10, making some of these teams like Louisiana march the ball, is the worst thing in the world, especially when the Tigers have a really good run defense just in their base personnel and groupings. And by the way, Missouri's opponent a week from tomorrow, the South Carolina Gamecocks, we do have an early line on that game in Columbia, Missouri, as the Tigers are currently 3.5-point favorites over the Gamecocks. And speaking of 3.5, that's the amount South Carolina is favored over Vanderbilt at home this week. That's a lot of respect to Vanderbilt for sure. Some respect that they've definitely earned here the first 2 weeks of the season. So I think if you like Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia to pull off I guess you'd call it a mild upset here in Columbia, South Carolina, maybe you should jump on Missouri now, because that line may indeed grow a little bit, if anything. But regardless, coming up here on the show, I do want to talk about parity. Yes, I think this is going to be a wild season in the SEC and college football in general. I think we've seen that play out pretty well so far. And I have to say I'm enjoying it. But in other sports, you know what? I feel like there's been manufactured parity that I don't like as much, like in the NBA, for example, recently. I want to make the distinction there. Also get into some Mizzou plays like that beautiful Kevin Coleman touchdown and call by Kirby Moore on 4th down. Break it all down for you here in just a little bit. First, though, let's talk some DoorDash and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving you more every time you order, well, you know what? Kevin Coleman delivered, obviously, when it mattered the most. I mean, my goodness, that 4th down catch where he just got annihilated, ends up landing basically his entire body weight, no feet on the ground, holds onto the ball anyway. What a smart player he's shown to be with all of his experience already, a savvy player and a really tough player as well is Kevin Coleman. So, by the way, just like he delivered for the Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18. And Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls with all-wheel drive standard. In every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. So I don't think this NIL and transfer portal era has been great for the mid-major type of football teams, the group of five. Teams like Bowling Green, for instance. Like if they ever recruit a diamond in the rough, well, it's likely that player is going to be on his merry way to a Power 4 school in his first couple of years at Bowling Green, that type of deal. But I do think it's leveled the playing field out in the SEC, for example, and in major college football in general, but I think in particular in the SEC right now. And I think what I've been thinking is, I think there's a really big difference between parity that comes about naturally and parity that is basically manufactured. And I think, unfortunately, that's a lot what I've seen in the National Basketball Association these days is basically anytime a team puts together a good roster, even if they do it through what people would call the right way, I suppose, not through, just buying players in free agency and leveraging your power through trades, that kind of deal. But instead, no, just actually with good scouting, good drafting, developing talent, and having them sort of gel together over a period of time. Well, the NBA has basically created rules that have not allowed those teams to stick together anymore, long story short. So that type of parity to me is actually not good for basketball, and actually that's not what I think fans want to see, is those types of teams being punished. But I don't think that's what's happening here. Again, at least in the SEC, don't get me wrong, I don't think this is manufactured at all, because I don't think the Alabamas and Georgias of the world were thinking, it would be great is if Vanderbilt and Missouri, if they could win a little bit more and maybe get a championship of their own. I don't think anybody, even at the top of the league, from Greg Sankey on down, was really thinking that. So the fact that that's kind of what's naturally happening here, I think is a great thing, because all it's really doing here, for all of the problems of NIL and the portal, and I have a few of them for sure, no doubt about it, I do think this sort of free market, laissez-faire sort of, hey, Wild West, whatever you want to call it, well, it's creating a lot of opportunities for people who are not traditional powers to level the playing field. I think it's pretty interesting, and certainly it's making for some exciting football in 2000. It made for some exciting football in 2024. I think that's going to keep continuing into 2025 here. And after the game, Eli Drinkwitz said that Mizzou quarterback Beau Pribula was nails on fourth down. Well, this play for an early Missouri touchdown definitely shows that not only was Beau Pribula nails in this game, but Kirby Moore and really a lot of the Missouri Tigers were nails in this particular ball game, because let me tell you something. This play here was not nearly as easy as Missouri made it look. This is just great execution by everyone involved. On the left side here, first of all, the receiver, Kevin Coleman, watch him go in motion and just stutter step there and just make number 26's job really a lot harder than he wanted it to be. First of all, you watch 26 here for Kansas. He's immediately signaling, going, I got him. Oh, do I got him? Oh, wait, now I'm signaling over here to number 7, trying to pass the play off here. That's just a very difficult thing to defend, especially not only the little stutter step here by Coleman in motion, but watch as Marquise Johnson on the right side of your screen, well, he essentially sets a screen here. He sets a pick, but the brilliant thing about this design of the play and also the execution here by Johnson is that he never runs in to Kevin Coleman's man. He runs into his own man, does Marquise Johnson. Basically just smashes into number 7 and creates just enough space for Coleman to get behind Johnson and number 7. And also, by the way, a perfectly thrown ball by Beau Pribula. Again, not the most difficult pass I've ever seen, but the point here is timing and execution is just paramount here. Even if the snap is off just a tiny bit on this play, if the throw is off, if Marquise is off just a little bit, if Coleman doesn't run his route just properly enough, well, Kansas gets a stop there. Maybe it's a drop, something that just throws off the timing just enough. So to me, not only was Beau Pribula nails on a lot of these fourth downs for Missouri, I think obviously Kirby Moore was as well. The snap was good. The pass was good. The execution, the ostensible screen, pick, whatever you want to call it, that really wasn't a pick though, but very well executed by Marquise Johnson. Really brilliant design there and brilliantly executed by the Tigers for an extremely important fourth down touchdown when the Tigers needed some momentum and something to go right their way. And since I just mentioned and brought up a pick play, or I guess rub route is what the coaches on offense would like to say. Defenders call it a pick, but yes, a rub route here by Marquise Johnson. Once again, beautifully executed on all sides. Let's bring it up here once again. For those of you on YouTube, on your left side, you see Marquise Johnson. Now, this is much more of a traditional rub route where he obviously is trying to make some contact with Daniel Blood's man there, the slot receiver on the left side for Missouri. But you notice Johnson wisely sells it, puts his hands up like, hey, give me the ball, give me the ball. That's always important. Don't just go set a pick, people. This isn't basketball. You actually have to pretend like you're trying to do something, but it's just enough of a rub on 22 to get Blood pretty darn open here for sure. This is still not an easy throw, but man, Pribula makes it look easy, doesn't he? Hits him right in stride. Just a beautiful ball there by Pribula once again. That guy has just, the more I look at these plays, the more impressed that I am, without a doubt. And one more here for Pribula. The young man just looks really comfortable on play action as well. As you'll see here, the play flows to the right. Wide open player here. Once again, hey, a lot of Marquise Johnson here today. He's the open receiver. Pribula on the move, opposite of the way he wants to naturally throw the ball as a right-hander, you would think, but no problem. Kind of sidearms it, hits Johnson on the move, right in stride for an easy Missouri first down. Pribula just making all the right reads and, frankly, making it all look pretty easy for the most part against the Jayhawks as the game went along the final 3 quarters or so. Hey, you know what? Since the focus of the last couple days has been third and fourth downs here at the end of the show, I got a couple more for you. I just got a breakdown for you coming up here in just a little bit. First, though, let's talk, of course, about FanDuel because the NFL is here and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I got to say, this week, my pick, I like the Saints at home against San Francisco. I think the Niners are a bit overrated. Plus 4.5 are the Saints. I think the Niners just kind of a thin roster right now, in my opinion, other than, well, they're obvious star players. But whatever you think, it's time to download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, so another huge spot. Missouri trailing by 3. It is third down and goal at the 11-yard line. So not a great spot here if you're a Missouri fan, but the Tigers find a way to get into the end zone. Again, thanks again to Beau Pribula's quick decision-making, I think, in large part. I would give, well, the veteran Brett Norfleet, some credit for finding a soft spot in the Jayhawk zone. But, hey, in these spots, those soft spots get a lot smaller, as you'll see here. In fact, as I bring up the play here, you'll see Brett Norfleet actually just to the right side of the near goal post here, as I was filming this from the south end zone. But you'll see here as I move it forward just a tiny bit, once Brett Norfleet gets the left side of said goalpost, watch the Kansas defender nearest him. Once that defender starts running to the right, as soon as he takes a step to the right, well, Beau Pribula sees this as well. He also sees the Kansas defender near the goal line right in front of him as well. So what Beau knows is that hopefully he and Norfleet are on the same page here. Norfleet is going to sit down, find that spot in the zone. And the thing is, this is a quick, great decision by Beau Pribula that pays off for a Missouri touchdown. Again, watch how quickly, when this guy goes to the right, Pribula sneaks it in right behind him for a massive, massive Missouri touchdown. Again, 3rd down and goal from the 11-yard line. 9 times out of 10, you're not getting a touchdown there. I don't care how good of an offense you are. That is a difficult thing for anybody to pull off, and, well, Missouri did pull it off this time. And finally, how about one more incredibly important situation? Missouri trailing by 3 with 4 minutes and 25 seconds to go. I know the Tigers end up winning this game by 11. This was a close ball game, obviously. Again, 4:25 left. The Tigers are down by 3. It is now 4th down and 1 for Missouri. And remember back to the touchdown play that was essentially 4th and short as well. 4th down and goal and short for Missouri. Well, on this 4th and 1, this snap starts to look very similar. Would you believe it's Kevin Coleman going in motion here? If you're number 2 for Kansas, you've got to be having some nightmares here. And indeed, Donovan Olubade this time looks like he's going to push forward. Kansas kind of signals, looks like they've got that particular play covered this time. But would you believe, this is all eye candy. And really, number 23 for Kansas is the one you want to watch here, because he ends up getting his eyes caught in the backfield looking around, and he's flowing toward where the play went last time, toward Kevin Coleman. But really, number 23, unless he's the quarterback spy here or something, either way, they aren't accounting for Brett Norfleet. Watch Brett Norfleet on the left side of the screen here, the right side of the Missouri line. He comes completely unguarded. Again, that's called going against the flow of your play of a previous play, going against an aggressive defense, trying to figure out tendencies, all of that good stuff. That's a great play design by Kirby Moore once again. I'm going to give him a ton of credit for that touchdown. Anytime you have a wide open player like that, once again, the offensive coordinator, the coaching staff, well, they deserve a massive amount of credit for those particular plays, because as great of an athlete as Brett Norfleet is, as fun as it is to watch him as a huge man jump over dudes, that was not the most difficult touchdown of his career, and I'm sure Brett Norfleet enjoyed every second of it. And hopefully you've enjoyed this podcast today as much as I've enjoyed making it. I have to tell you this, I think you're going to enjoy Locked On's college football kickoff. It's on Fire TV, by the way. This is a big deal. We're talking Gary Patterson, Jesse Holley, a bevy of Locked On local experts, a college football preview show that, frankly, only this network can do. So catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And until next time, and by the way, that'll be post-game ASAP after the Missouri-Louisiana game. I'll be with you right here on Locked On Mizzou.